What is up, everybody? Give me 1 second. Get my buddy David in the room here. There he is. What is up, guys? David, how are you doing this afternoon, my friend? Uh-oh. Unmute him. There we go. All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to Lines End. We're at Tuesday night, and we are powered by Battleborn batteries. Thank you all for tuning in with us tonight. We got my buddy David with us here today, my co-host. How are you doing tonight, David?
Doing good. Been doing all kinds of darn kayak work. Installed a Panoptics on a boat yesterday, and doing XI3 installs today, and just freezing my butt out there doing that. But anyway, it is what it is.
Well, hey, it's business, brother. So you're making things happen. You're making somebody really happy with that Panoptics, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those XI3s. Well, man, it's just good. It's good to have that business continue rolling up there at the store. I know you guys are always glad to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in with us tonight. Again, we are Lines End, powered by Battleborn batteries. We're glad to have you with us tonight. We got a great show lined up for you all tonight. We have Mr. Jordan Marshall joining us tonight. We're going to dive into getting to know Jordan. And, we just transitioned into doing these live videos on Tuesday nights. As we put out there for you guys, a lot of people, we understand, are traveling or will begin traveling on Thursdays. So as well as myself and David and most of the guests that we'll have on the show. So, to continue bringing content on a day that makes sense for most people, we're moving things to Tuesdays for the remainder of the year. We may move back to Thursdays later on in the year, getting around the holidays and stuff. But for now, we're going to be sticking with Tuesday. So if you are new to the show, we welcome you all, and thanks for tuning in with us. We also have a YouTube channel where we are live on that right now. So guys, do us a big favor, go over and hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. That really helps us out a lot. And if you enjoy this content tonight, if you enjoy hanging out with us, man, give us a like, invite your friends over to follow our page. That just helps us to continue bringing you guys more stuff. But we're going to get him in here. David, I want to talk with you just real quick, man. The Hobie Bass Open Series event, we discussed a little bit earlier. That event is filling up
fast.
Yeah. A friend of mine from out that way, he's been reminding me, and I've been lazy about it. But
Same.
He told me earlier today it was like at 100 or something. And then, our buddy Russell texted me about an hour ago. He goes, "Man, it's at 146. You better get signed up." So I went ahead and paid my $265 and got in there.
Same. Well, when you texted me to tell me it was like 146, I went in. I was 150, and I looked at it a second ago. It's at 157. It'll be full by the end of the day tomorrow. At the rate we're going.
Yeah, it's going to get 200 for sure. So that's good to see. I hope we see those numbers, remain the same, as we progress throughout the year. But as in typical fashion, it drops off a little bit. But anything you want to add real quick, brother, before we get our man Jordan in here? We got a lot to talk about.
No, come see the store. I mean, if you haven't been in a while, we got a lot of kayaks. If you're looking for a kayak, I actually have a Lynx on hand. Amazingly enough, I had a deal fall through. I have Outbacks. I have you're gonna crack up. I found a PA-14 camo today that I didn't realize I had.
How do you? Hey, tell me how to perform that trick. I want to just dig up a Hobie PA-14.
So I mean, look, we haven't been. It's been so crazy since Christmas and just before Christmas, and we got that delivery at Christmas, and I literally thought I had sold that one, but I still had it. So I do have an extra PA-14 in a camo if somebody's interested in one. Although I don't think I have seats in a drive for it, so that's a whole other thing.
We'll get you in the boat at least.
A ton of passports. We have a ton of compasses. We got a bunch of new canoe. I do still have XI3s in GPS and 9. We have wiring kits. We're ready to go. So, I mean, if you're interested in a kayak, it's a good time to come see us. Tackle shop's beginning to fill up a little bit. We still got a lot of product coming, but it's beginning to get better. It's coming along. So we're getting there. Come see us while you can. Stuff's going fast.
Absolutely, man. Let's not forget. We're also this show is brought to you also by Primary Tackle. So guys, be sure to go and check out David's store, Primary Tackle, right there next to S.Y. Wilson, and get yourself geared up for the season. So let's get our buddy in here, Jordan, and get this show started, man. We got a lot to talk with him about.
Yeah.
What's up?
All right.
There he is.
What is up, Jordan Marshall, man? We're ecstatic to have you on tonight, man. And I'm gonna read some stats about you because I was just looking at them on Tourney X, and I mean, we know you're a hammer, but to see it in person, the stats that you got, it's pretty impressive. But what's up, dude? How are you doing tonight?
I'm hanging out. Just worked 24 hours in the last couple days, and I'm tired, but working as much as I can before I leave. So my job will actually let me off. So got to do what you can while they get good.
That's right, man. Dude, I've been running so crazy getting things together myself. David, I know you are, man. I'm exhausted. I'm ready to just kind of get it done, get organized. That way, when the tournaments start, it just roll with it and go.
Yeah.
But guys, we have Jordan Marshall on with us tonight. I'm going to read a few stats about this guy. It's really impressive, and this is just coming from Tourney X. So you fished probably more than this, but on Tourney X, 122 total tournaments, 13 first place finishes, 10 second place finishes, 7 third place finishes. In 2019, when the Tournament of Champions started with the Hobie Bass 7 Series, you had a 5th place finish there. 2020, you were the second place runner-up in that event, as well as this past year, 2021, you were the runner-up there too, with taking the Angler of the Year. Man, I just got to know who do you have in your pocket, or what are you doing? That's impressive, man.
Yeah, that's the first year, go out to Arkansas and be very fortunate to find some fish in practice and finish 5th in the tournament. And going into Knoxville, that was kind of a win or everything else wasn't good enough situation. So to finish second didn't really feel like a second to me, is terrible as that sounds. And then this year, this past TOC at Eufaula was, eventually, it's hard to keep up with a worst place finish at the TOC is 5th. And, you just got to go into tournaments with an open mind and try to fish your strengths, and to come out with a second and a AOY is, above and beyond. So, this year it's, go out and fish my strengths, ride this momentum, and see what we can do again. But I think, going into it with a really good conservative outlook is going to go a long way.
Absolutely, man. And we got a lot of questions we're gonna dive into, just kind of like who you are as an angler, your mentality and stuff like that. We like to get into the minds of folks, not just ask them, hey, where did you catch them on here? But I'm sure you'll enjoy talking about that too. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good. I just agreed with you. Yeah, there's like a half a second delay, I think, or something like that. But we're good. I got you. No problem.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, man, you've been just right outside. You've had that momentum going for quite a while. Like I said, 122 tournaments. I'm sure you fished more than that. But these past 3 years, dude, you've been progressively on fire. It's been awesome to watch you, represent Tennessee, man, go out there and do your thing and just be consistent as you are. That's, in a field with all the anglers that we have right now. And, I'm sure you can agree over the past 8 years, this sport has grown so much. So many more people are getting involved in it. It's bringing in a lot of sticks. You know, and we've seen a lot of people up there at the top, you know, pretty consistent. But, you know, with the Hobie Bass Open Series first event already almost, you know, filled out for this year, man, you know, I know there's some more sticks, you know, some more good anglers that are, you know, join the ranks, you know, to get everybody a run for their money.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to see it, man. I know AJ works his tail off, and it's awesome to see an event. By all means, I think it's going to hit its cap. I'd say it may not even be the only one that probably hits its cap this year. If I was willing to bet, I know there's a lot of guys down there that are fish QC KBF Queen City that say they might show up to the St. T. Cooper event. I think that's a fantastic lake and a fantastic time of the year where we get a lot of participation from guys. So hopefully we can cap that one and cap this first one to start the year and really get the ball rolling towards the end of the year. And yeah, I'm excited to get rolling. We talked a little before we got on here. I'm as excited to start the season as I ever have, but I'm also the most disorganized, unprepared. It's a cluster right now. Honestly, I've got a tire blown out on my trailer out here, so I got to get two tires replaced.
Oh man,
I got to my boat because my boat's about an hour and a half away from me right now. I have no reels except a reel that I just bought that's still in a box with no line on it. So I've got to get all my tackle in my kayak. I got to get all my line on my reels and get everything paired back up. And I've got a bunch of stuff going on outside of, you know, just getting ready for tournaments that I'm really excited about too. And hopefully can get that squared away sooner rather than later. But man, I'm freaking pumped for the year, man. I'll be honest. I am. Every time I look at my schedule, I'll be like, oh, you know, what am I doing this weekend? And I'm like, oh man, that's going to be a good tournament. And you know, whether I do well or not, you know, there's tournaments like you get excited for, like Fork and Toledo Bend back to back. I hate Fork, and I'm not excited about fishing it, but I'm excited about spending some time in Texas. And I've never fished Toledo Bend. That's one of those historical fisheries that, you know, people hear about from, you know, as soon as they get into fishing. And looking at going to new water and going back to places like Susquehanna, where I think they're just really magical places, good or bad, that you can just tell when you get there, there's something different about those fisheries.
Yeah. It's, I gotta ask, man, why do you hate Fork? You don't hear that very often.
I've spent a week down there last year getting ready for the the Bassmaster. Me and Thomason and Pro Neighbor, we, you know, some of us, a group of us, normally me and Eric, try to do like a Western swing every year. We'll take, you know, kind of maximize our days off. And the only one it worked out last year for was Broken Bow and Fork. And Broken Bow is a fantastic lake. I'm really hoping I can make it back out there this year.
Me too.
It's kind of on the tentative list. I know I might have some company over there, maybe even some company at the spot, because that was a good spot we were.
He wouldn't stop talking about it, man.
You went a little further down from me though, so.
Yeah, it's that was a special place. I'm interested to see what that looks like with the water up and the
Me
boundaries. I hope the boundaries are the same, because I'd like to be kind of in that general area again if I'm not giving too much away. I'm sure people already know where I was at by now, if not, but because of what I just said. But you know, we left Broken Bow after just a short practice, and, you know, caught fish the day in practice and the 2 tournament days and just wrecked them. And we went to Fork, and we hit up a bunch of farm ponds on the way down there and wrecked them in random ponds on the side of the road all the way down to Fork. And we get to Fork, and I think I fished Fork 4 days in practice, and I don't think I caught a single scoreable fish. And it was so bad that I actually talked Eric into going to a different lake that week in practice because I was so overfishing Fork.
Yeah.
I hated it. There was nothing about it that felt like anything ever clicked. I dropped a GLX Loomis rod in an old Sitka in the water, and I had to fish it out, and it took me probably an hour and a half to fish it out, and I was just pissed off that entire day after that point, and just the tournament just didn't jive. I mean, I sat there and just watched people catch fish all day. Now kudos to Thomas, and he wrecked them everywhere we went on Fork, it seemed like. But I have no desire to go to Fork. I mean, to be completely honest, I'm going to show up there like the day before the tournament, and I've got one spot in mind, and I'm going to fish it all Friday morning and fish it really hard. If I don't get anything, then I'm going to choose somewhere random on the first day of the tournament. If I don't do well the first day of the tournament, then on Sunday, I'm going to probably go hit some of them bootleg lakes we found on the way over there. I'm not going to fish Bassmaster. And it's nothing against Bassmaster other than their awful, horrible, horrendous, terrible, absolutely atrocious sign-up. What is the word I'm looking for? Ritual. It's like a ritual trying to sign up for a Bassmaster.
I got the email notification that I had to finish my registration. It said, click this link here to go to finish your registration. And it was like searching in dark to where to click to actually pay. I finally just landed on something that clicked and took me to another link, but I've heard quite a few people, kind of not too happy about that process. David, is that the same process that they use for, all the opens and BFLs and all that kind of stuff too?
No, I think it's a little bit different because you've added in the Tourney X piece of it, and there's some other stuff there. I mean, like, look, I finally got all my bass money paid and still wasn't registered for the tournament because I forgot to go register at Tourney X. So I just did that just now. So,
well, what's crazy is I was on Tourney X and didn't even pay the other half of it somehow. So I had to go back and figure out how I paid my second half because I was on Tourney X and thought I was good.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned, I just thought they took it out of your account automatically once you got registered, and it wasn't that way. I think it's ridiculous that, that was one of the complaints last year was, need some simplicity with some systems, and somehow they make it worse. So that goes a long way. And what I think of a series is not necessarily the how you sign up, but how they listen to guys. So
they have to come around a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I want to take a minute real quick just to say to say hey to some of our viewers tonight. Dirk White, Clint Cropper, Ashley Alt, Dirk White, Cody Hughes. Guys, what's going on? We got some questions in the comments, or at least from Ashley Alt. He's got one for you. We'll shoot that up there here in a second. Guys, give me 1 second, man. I'm going to try to do something to increase this Wi-Fi signal a little bit because everybody's lagging. Hold
on. I will be at Broken Bow. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I'm going to try my best to be. It's going to be one of those events. If I make it down there, I'm just going to have to see what that week looks like for me at work. It's definitely on my schedule because it's something I want to do. That's going to be kind of balancing like time off and comp time and how much time I've worked that week to see if I can swing that kind of thing. But it's certainly one of those places. It's a top 5 for me on where I would like to go this year.
No doubt.
Well, we're going to, Jordan, we're going to kick off with a question from Ashley. This is a really good question. He wants to know, what would you say is the number one contributing factor to your success as a kayak angler? Your attitude, knowledge, skill, or time on the water?
I really don't spend as much time on the water as people think. It really looks like I do because I fish so many tournaments. I mean, like I said, I fish probably 40 or 50 tournaments a year. I probably don't spend but 60 days on the water, probably more than that. I'm not on the water, but maybe a handful of days of the year that I'm not in a tournament or even practicing for a tournament. If I'm fishing, I generally have some sort of purpose behind it. There's really not a whole lot of just going out and fishing, but time on the water over the last few years of keeping track of things, maybe, honestly, it's I constantly fish my strengths and do what I like to do. And, there's not a whole lot of times I kind of gave up going out and trying to learn how to use side scan or trying to go out and learn how to drop shot. I go out and test different crankbaits that I think I'll like, or, try out different spinnerbait blades, or go to places where, I can get something that I can compare against knowledge that I already know. There's not a whole lot of trying new things for me, unless it's, a new bait that compares well to something that I already know.
That's a good answer, man. Yeah, I know you to be a little bit of a spinnerbait fisherman, and a little bit of chatterbait fisherman too. And we'll let you talk about that a little bit. But I wanted to. That was a great question from Ashley, and I wanted to tie into that. Just kind of like just how did you get started fishing, man? What's your history there?
The first memory I have as far as fishing goes was about 100 yards that way, or a couple hundred yards that way. There's an old farm pond that I remember fishing with my dad and Papa at, with a little orange push button, probably Zebco. And that kind of got me interested in it. And I went a long time without fishing. And my dad got a bass tracker, and we started fishing Thursday night tournaments and things like that. And I realized I didn't like fishing deep and doing that kind of thing. I like kind of going back as far as I could in places, and spent a lot of time fishing with some friends of mine in high school at our local river, kind of skipping some classes and going smallmouth fishing up here near the high school. And I wanted to try to fish some of that more, so I got a kayak. And once I got that little Pelican 110 Castaway, at the time being, it was game over after that. I fished a kayak tournament when I was 18 at Guntersville. Was actually my first kayak tournament. And
what year was that?
Drew Gray. That was 2013. The fall of 2013 was my first kayak tournament.
Okay.
And I was in my Pelican. I went to Goose Pond Marina campground, and Drew Gregory was running what was called then the college kayak series, and I was going to community college, and there were three of us, me, a couple guys, one guy from Columbia State and one guy from UTC. We all met down there and dominated for the record. Tennessee was the victorious champions that day. I still have a trophy for that. That was the first trophy I ever got. I'm not sure where it is. It's sitting back here in the mess somewhere, but it was a Yak Attack Black Pack topper was the trophy. And I've had that topper on that Black Pack for all this time, basically, until I got a H crate this winter. So I've been carrying my first kayak related trophy for 7 years now. So that's where all my mojos come from. If I don't catch fish this year, I'm gonna pull that Yak Attack Black Pack back out. We're gonna dominate with it. And
somebody's breaking into your shed tonight to grab that topper.
Yeah, somebody's gonna burn this something down.
So wait.
From there and go ahead.
You said it was the topper. So just they gave you the lid, or what exactly you mean by just the topper?
The whole thing. You had to put it together, and the top was engraved. It was Collegiate Kayak Series, first place team champions.
Gotcha.
And we all got one for being first place team. I finished second in the individual. And we had an absolute blast that weekend. I didn't get down there till like 2:00 in the morning, and we just barely slept any in the hotel. I think I slept in the chair because none of us had any money. I slept in the chair because we couldn't afford another room. and went out and dominated the next day. Didn't have my identifier in one of my fish pictures because it was my first tournament and I was a bum, didn't know what I was doing. So when I see all these mistakes that comes in for tournaments, I get cracked up, man, because I've done this long enough to everything from flipping kayaks over to having scupper, those little rubber scupper plugs that we all used to put in our piece of crap kayaks to keep water out, but all it did was keep water in. You had to worry about not drowning in the middle of the lake, forgetting identifiers, dropping phones in the water, having fish flop out. Man, I've been there through every bit of it, so I fully understand how ridiculous and how tough it is when we get new guys in here. So as far as fish pictures go, the only thing I could recommend is have a system. Have a system down. Have a system.
Yeah.
Say that 4 times fast so everybody gets that in their head.
Practice it. Practice it. Practice it.
Practice it.
Yeah.
Even when I'm practicing for a tournament, I'll pull the board out. I don't care if it's a 15-inch fish. I'll pull it out, set the fish down there. I won't take a picture of it, but I'll have the same thing every time. So it's fluid.
Man, yeah, you got to, man. I mean, you're already working in a confined space as it is. And, everything gets hung up on your kayak. Your line's hung up over here. Your board's somewhere you can't find it. Your identifier's done falling off.
Yeah.
It gets chaotic, man. You got to have a good system, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And it'll come in handy when you catch a 20-inch fish in the last minute and a half at the TOC and have to take a 20-inch fish picture, which is the biggest fish I'd caught in 4 days, and put it on the board and measure it, and you have 40 seconds to spare. Everybody knows you could waste 40 seconds in a heartbeat when you're taking a picture of a fish like that. I mean, the fish flops one time and you're spending 45 seconds trying to grab it in your boat, and it's game over.
Yep. That broken bow event last year when I met Jordan was where I learned that I needed to start practicing some things, because that was the event where I told AJ when I met him at the boat ramp getting my board done. He goes, "How'd you do?" I said, "I landed on them." I said, "But I'm scared now because I had a perfect day. The rest of this weekend's probably going to suck," and that's what it did. I lost fish. I had fish jump overboard. I didn't set a hook well. I did everything wrong. First year fishing Hobie, but it's where I learned. I started doing online tournaments for the next 5 months just to force myself to practice every day, or not every day, but a bunch of days. So part of it, you got to get good with it. It's a fluid thing.
Yeah, man, those online tournaments, for a lot of guys that were, I know they still have them, but that was a big thing. Jordan, I don't know if you fish them much anymore, but that was kind of like, how a lot of people got involved into this sport and really got that good practice in. And it's not a bad way to, make a little bit of money if you wanted it, at least, and you could at least, throw your hat in the other 700 anglers to go fish a national championship. But,
Yeah. I've never been a super big fan of the online events. I think they're fantastic for guys to practice and guys to get into something if they can't be on a schedule to fish a local trail or regional or national trail or whatever it may be. I think it's fantastic for that. About the only online tournaments I fish anymore are charity events or fundraisers or something like that. I think they're fantastic opportunities for doing that. But other than that, like I said, I don't have enough time to fish and do onlines and things like that. And even if I did, I've got to drive about an hour probably minimum to get somewhere that I feel like I could compete with people in Tennessee, let alone all throughout the Southeast. There's I'm in a little turdy little location for catching swamp donkeys.
You got a lot of good fishing around you, a lot of water around you, but
yeah,
you're missing them big Florida streams.
Yeah, a lot of water to learn on for sure.
Yeah, man. Listen, David. I know you got some questions for Jordan. Throw one at him, man.
Well, it kind of goes along with the same question that Ashley asked. from dealing with Jordan, I know attitude is a big chunk of it. Knowledge is a piece of it. I mean, we had a long conversation that day at Broken Bow as we were pedaling for 3.5, 4 miles down the river before we ever started. And what do you think was the piece that really put you to be consistent? Where does your consistency come from? That's the question I really have.
I think as time goes on, it is having the correct mindset and keeping the correct attitude as much as possible through a day. And I do that with music, with people. I have an unbelievable support system with people that I can call and talk to, both guys I travel with, and even after the tournament, and it's not even fishing related things, man. It's man, I lost a fish, or I polioed a reel today, or whatever it is, and you start to spin out, and you have to really be able to put things in perspective. And it's really little things, man. It's like, well, at least I'm not on the back of the garbage truck. Because 2 years, that's what I did, was work the back of a garbage truck. And one of our younger guys this week at work, which we don't do a whole lot of riding the back of the garbage truck like you see on TV and commercials anymore. Everybody's getting safer, and they've done away with that. And these young guys are real soft. So we had a truck breakdown, and they threw him on the back of the garbage truck last week in the middle of the rainstorm. And he was like, man, he said, I don't know how y'all did that for, 6 months to a year, which is what most of us did. He said, I don't know how most of y'all did that. He said, if I had to do that for 3 months, I'd have quit. He said, how long were you on the back? And I said, 2 years, to the date, basically 2 years. And he was like, bro, he's like, I don't know how you did that. And man, it makes you have a level of respect for every situation you have in your life after that. Because if it's 20 degrees, you're doing the same thing as if it's 90 degrees. And you have to be able to keep that in perspective, because some of the worst days I've ever had have been riding the back of that garbage truck, getting covered in God knows what. And, you're out there in the middle of the lake, and it's like, man, I've got 85 inches and I just lost a donkey, man. This is bull crap. How in the world I ain't going to recover from this? And it's like, man, 5 years ago, I was on the back of a garbage truck,
Yeah. Yeah, it's those little things, man. I think about that stuff a lot myself. Just, man, I could be at work in general, whatever you do, man. I could be back at work. Sitting in the rain out here on Pickwick Lake or whatever is 10 times better than being back at work. I'm doing something I love to do. So
Pickwick in the rain. I'll go to Pickwick in the rain right now. That was one of the most fun I've had. If I had another run at day one on Pickwick again, I think I don't remember what I finished, like 5th or 6th with that one, but G knocked that one out of the water. But man, I would have liked to have day one on that one, because I found a spot on day 2 in the same little area that I was fishing that was absolutely unbelievable. I went from a bunch of topwater misses to absolute ferocious, couldn't get it out of their mouth, topwater blow ups. So
you and David over there, man, y'all need to keep them spots to yourself a little bit better, dude. You posted a picture, I think, during the tournament or afterwards, and me and David, we know Pickwick. We're like, we ain't that ain't nothing. That's not like an area you typically see on Pickwick, except for one area. I ain't gonna say it, but we're like, oh yeah, we know where that's at.
That's
because Pickwick don't look like that.
I couldn't believe it. I knew in the situation that it was, I knew that. Looking back, I kind of realized that was not the smartest thing I ever did. But anybody that knows me knows that I don't really care. Those fish may not be there next year or this year when we go back. They may be back there. It is what it is. If that was a plan B for me anyway. And I went down there with the full 130%, no questions asked. I was going to go fish below the dam, and I got there and pulled up and looked out there and was like, "Oh no, there's so much water up here." And I am a rat when it comes to water, man. I love moving water. I love fishing it. I hate being in water, and as far as that goes, but man, I love moving water, and I could not
them
convince
legs can
myself.
only pump so fast, to holding that kind of current.
Well, I've got a response to that too when we go back there for that. I think there's a Bassmaster at Pickwick this year.
There is in October.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a response to that this year. I got a Newport strapped to that sucker this year, and I'm going to be zipping. So, yeah, y'all might just have that spot y'all got in mind, because if I got something on the back where I can put my fat legs up on my kayak and I can just fish and turn the rudder handle, that might be trouble if I can get on them smallmouth.
Man, gonna be up there, nose on the dam.
I'm gonna look like what's that old boy that won that tournament with the Auburn hat on? That was up at Pickwick flooding.
Is that a kayak tournament?
No, it was the Bassmaster. He was in his bass boat and he's up there riding them waves and catching those guys.
Yeah. Steve Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be me. The only difference is I'm gonna have a Hobie hat on or something like that. I think that's gonna be my play. I'm gonna be up there riding it.
Man, he about lost it a couple of times in that tournament. I think there was one video they posted. He about fell out the boat.
Yeah. That stuff ain't no joke, man. Like I make a joke out of it, but it's serious. Like I was not about to fish that, just pedaling it last year. Just what I saw. I mean, I didn't go out there and get in it. I mean, there's always soft spots where you can hang out in, but man, it looked angry.
Yeah. I remember it was
that way there.
Yeah, that was kind of part of my potential plan too. I went and looked at it. I was like, nah, not this time. Well, man, I want to ask you a question. Yeah, you've had a lot of success, and right now there's no. I think a lot of anglers, a lot of kayak anglers, we fish this because we enjoy fishing out of a kayak. So, but I got to ask this question, man. With your kind of success that you've had, have you put it in thought, or maybe are you working towards? Because I mean, you're still a young dude, a lot of life ahead of you. Have you put any thought into moving into a boat and trying to go and fish the opens, going the elites route, or are you pretty content with the kayak deal?
Right now, I'm content. I got a bass boat that's sitting in my garage that I took out twice last year. It doesn't ring the same way with me. I will say this though, running 40 or 50, or I've fished some tournaments with some buddies' boats and some really nice Tritons and whatever else they've had, and man, it's nice running down the lake at 70 miles an hour, ain't it? Covering some water. My gracious. That's fun and all, but I get as much enjoyment out of running down the lake at 70 miles an hour as I do pulling up somewhere and staring at a graph and catching fish. That's something that just doesn't excite me the same way it does, doing stuff like I did at Pickwick.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. There's been talk of wondering, if Bassmaster, if they like what they see with the kayak participation enough, and I'm sure you watched the same show that I did, where where they were on there. They had Patrick and those guys from Bass on there, and they seem a little iffy, right? And I know that they're a company, they're an organization, they want to see the numbers, and that's their big deal now. But I'm just kind of wondering if at some point, will they open up opportunities for those kind of anglers that may want to advance, into, I don't even know what that would look like, because it's not even the same realm of things, but would they open up some kind of opportunity for, like, the champion, the winner of the kayak championship to go and fish a classic or something like that? They supply a boat, or I know they got some kind of programs that I think it's the All-American. David, you quote me if I'm wrong, man, but they if you win the All-American, they pay you they pay your entry fees and stuff like that in the opens for a year. Was that FLW, David? I may be wrong.
Now that is so the All-American, they give you $100,000 cash, and pretty much if you win the All-American, you're gonna have a ride for the next year if you do anything in the world to even attempt to parlay it. What you're thinking about is the Tennessee or the Bass Federation, which is all the Bassmaster Trail piece, national clubs and stuff, and they all pull together and you go through regionals. That's called the Living the Dream package. And in the Bass Federation side of it, they then pay your entry fee and you get a ride and a wrap truck, wrap boat, and your entry fees for a year. So it's a different piece. But either way, I mean, there's always those options in the bass and in the bass fishing and the current bass fishing style for amateurs to get a good ride for the next year just by going through a set. But look, those are some hard roads to go through. I mean, you're talking about one guy out of tens of thousands that get there. So, I mean, the three of us would have a better shot at making it into the darn probably the NFL than we would doing that. Your odds would be just about as well.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I mean they every other aspect of their organization, you have some kind of road to fish the classic,
right?
So I don't know what that would look. Some of these guys may not know how to work a bass boat, if they got the chance to go fish a classic. So they may be pulling somebody off of a sandbar.
I could. I ain't run one in 2 years, but I promise you, it's old hat.
Yeah.
I'd certainly be game for it. It'd be an interesting conversation to have for sure. I think we're a ways off from that though, unless I'm mistaken. I'd find that hard to believe.
Yeah. Hey, we got a question in the comments from Dirk White. He's want to know: are you going to run a graph this year?
No. I've got a super nice, awesome lithium battery from MTech, and I got a 24 volt, I think 80 amp hour battery that I am going to run a Newport and a Newport only, and a couple GoPros. And other than that, that's the only electronics that I ever want on my boat.
It's probably more than you want, ain't it?
Yeah, it's more than I want. I like to do my own thing, and do random and do random stuff. But at some point you got to start documenting stuff. And right. I'm going after the YouTube thing this year. I got logo made. I haven't hardly shot anything yet. I need to get some stuff. I've been waiting on getting my boat back to try to do that. That's supposed to be my first video because I've got a really cool rigged up system that I think is going to be pretty cool. Yeah, I've got lots of irons and fires, and I've got multiple freaking fires going, and we're just going to try to manage them the best we can.
Well, man, we're going to we got some more questions here. We got some more questions in the comments from our viewers, but before we jump into those, we're going to take a quick little commercial break from our sponsors over at Battleborn Batteries. Guys, y'all stay tuned with us. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for holding in there for that. We just want to give a big shout out to Battleborn Batteries. We're powered by them, and we just greatly appreciate their support in this podcast. It gives us a lot of opportunities to bring some better content, more content to you guys. So we definitely want to thank them. Jordan, man, we got Jordan Marshall on 2021 Angler of the Year in the Hobie Bass Open Series. We've been talking a lot about about your style, man, about your preparation. Going into this season. We got a lot some other stuff we want to talk about as well. We want to take some questions from some of the comments. We just asked you if you're going to be running a graph. From our buddy Dirk White asked that question, and Ashley's got another question. When you're selecting the areas you fish come tourney day, do you look for areas that'll get you away from other competitors, or do you prefer to be alone? And then I also want to add to that question, how do you select your areas? I mean, do you go off of history a lot when you're fishing lakes that you've been to? Do you put in a lot of research into past stuff that's worked out for other people, or do you just go up, do you show up and go fishing?
I find history 9 times out of 10 to be a brain fogger. Now there are certain times when I think 3 years in a row on Kentucky Lake, I could show up to the same point at the Hobie Open and throw the same top water, and I could catch fish on the same point in the first hour of every morning. Now, that being said, one year I did not practice, show up early and check that pattern out, and I showed up there the first morning of the tournament, sight unseen, and I went out there and threw that top water for an hour and never got a bite, and then I was scrambling the rest of the day. So it bit me. So at least if you're going on history, give yourself a day to check out and double check yourself, because fish are not that predictable. They like to play with your brain a little bit. I like to blame the Asian carp, because that was when that was first starting. So that's what I tell myself was what changed that. At least that's my excuse for myself.
Sounds good.
A lot of the times, yeah. A lot of the times, my best times fishing a lake are a lot of the times the very first time fishing it. And that being said, we have a local lake called Melton Hill. The first time I had ever fished it from the kayak, I had like a really, really good limit, and they call that the Dead Sea, and I freaking whacked them that day. We did a 3-fish limit, and I had like 54 inches on a lake that's known for not very big fish. And I went 2 years back to back trying to replicate that same pattern or something similar to it, because I don't typically pre-fish for local events, and I bombed both years. And one year I needed a 3-fish limit to win our local angler of the year, and it took me to the very last 20 minutes of the day to catch 3 12-inch fish. My biggest fish was 12 3/4 that day.
Wow.
And I kind of dropped back, punted, looked at it. I deleted all the waypoints I had. Well, I didn't delete them, but I kind of wiped it clean and created a new kind of picture on the lake. And I looked at it as if I were going somewhere new. The first thing I normally do or mark all the public ramps. I kind of, a lot of the times will find somewhere away from the big areas with lots of public ramps close, especially in our kayak tournaments where we don't have motors and things, where guys aren't going to go there. And then that day after work, the day before the tournament, I made a loop around the lake to all the creeks that didn't have any launches close by, official launches. And I found a pull off on the side of the road. It was kind of steep. It looked like a bank fisherman hole. I checked it on what is the Far Wide app, the Hobie sponsor, AOY sponsor, Far Wide. I checked it on the Far Wide app, and it was public property. It was close to the road, and it was just one of those random pull-offs. And I put in there. I showed up right at time to fish. I pushed the kayak off, put it in the back of this creek, and about 5 minutes after lines in, I heard somebody coming around the corner. They had been pedaling for 35 minutes from the next closest ring.
Man.
And we're like, how in the world did you get back here? And I said, well, there's a pull-off up here. And they're like, my goodness, this is, my quote-unquote home lake, and I didn't realize there was a pull-off here. And I went back there and absolutely freaking whacked them, because it was something like what I would do when I'm out traveling somewhere. And it felt good. I always like to say every creek, every boat ramp, everything's got a feel to it. and that little area had mojo, and you could tell as soon as you got there, it felt right. Instinctually, it felt right. And I had never fished there. I had never fished there in the bass boat. It was just some random pocket that I found based on a lap around the lake and, an hour at work that I spent looking at Navionics on my phone.
Yeah. Man, we're seeing that's a good point that you brought up, man. That driving around, I know, David, it's benefited you. We've talked about that. It's benefited, I've benefited from it, but, just getting out there and driving around the lake, just having a day to do that, man, it's doing wonders for a lot of guys and gals. Cause you just, sometimes you just find stuff that's it's not on those maps. And as we know, if you can eliminate that 30-minute hour pedal like you're talking about, man, that can be the difference between getting to a spot, beating other anglers there, and and getting on that good morning bite or whatever the case may be, and beating the bass boats out there. Because a lot of those local guys, they're going to know those little areas like that. But people that are visiting lakes, especially when you got, a lake as big as like Toledo Bend, Kentucky Lake, stuff like that. I've driven down some back road areas on Kentucky Lake and found somewhere where I could just dump the boat in, or there was an old, just beat up ramp there, so, hey, it's public. But, just getting out there cruising around,
Lake is one of those places that is built for kayak anglers, other than the fact that it's a mile freaking wide. It's built for kayak, man, because that whole LBL area, you can drive back through there for miles and miles and miles and miles and never see a soul. And you get back there and there's a dead end dirt ramp that's at like a 45-degree angle that you're half afraid to park your truck on, and you can go out there and catch fish.
Yeah.
That lake is really made for kayak anglers if it wasn't just so wide.
Rayburn was kind of like that too. We were all kind of forced to drive around that lake and find places where you could just dump in, but it had a ton of back roads over there on that reserve over there.
I'm jealous that I missed Rayburn last year after I saw the high water.
Oh man,
those are experiences. That's the vast majority of people I think really struggled, and odds are I probably would have too in that instance. But man, that's an experience when you are fishing high water like that and trying to find somewhere, and that's half the fun, man. Trying to find somewhere to put in and beat people to what you think might be the best spot and get out there and struggle through it all day.
Man, go ahead, David.
That was my first real Hobie that I really had turned the corner and figured out how to freaking land fish and how to do stuff. Although on day one, I really screwed the pooch, and Justin had to talk me off of a ledge because I was about ready to lose my ever-loving mind because I'd lost like probably 75, 80 inches in the first hour and a half. And he was like, just calm down. And because I caught 50, 60K keepers on day one and caught 70 or 80 keepers on day two. And it was all I could do when we left the morning of Monday morning when we were leaving to keep them turning left and going back and catching some more of them dang fish because I was stroking them. Ended up, 17th, like 2 or 3 places out of the money. Just a little bit out of the money. And just it was the first tournament I really put it all together and was able to put 2 solid limits together. But it was the most fun I've had in a long time. I caught not as many as I caught at Pickwick, but I caught the crap out of them.
Yeah, you're calling me up on day one. I'm like, hey, it must be nice to be catching some fish. I didn't make the right adjustment until day 2, man.
But it was fun.
I had to beat myself up first. But
I would go back there. I was hoping they would go back there this year. I would go back there in a heartbeat.
I'm thinking about hitting Rayburn up on the Monday after Fort. If I stay for Fort both days, I'm thinking about hitting up Rayburn on Monday.
Well, I have to be back here at 9 o'clock to meet AJ on that Monday morning, so I'll be traveling overnight.
I got you.
Yeah, it's funny, man. These kayak tournaments, man. We're like we're a bunch of firsts. We experienced Rayburn at 11 feet high. We're going to be experiencing fork at a close to record low, come next week. It's and these are a lot of lakes that I'm going to for the first time ever. So I'm like, man, I didn't get to enjoy them at the regular normal pool. I'm going and see them all completely out of whack and stuff.
I hope they just go ahead and drain fork while they're at it. It's 6 feet down. Keep going down on it.
Shoot, you ain't gonna
the
do
first
that,
time I
man.
went to work, I called it Sardis South for the first 3 days I was there. I hated that place.
Yeah, Sardis is a little Mississippi mud hole down here. It's really good for crappie fishing, but
same lake. It's the same lake. It's just one's in Mississippi, one's in Texas. They fish a lot alike.
Yeah. Well, man, Jordan, we were talking a little bit about baits earlier. Know you to be a little bit of a spinnerbait fisherman, but I've seen you go to work with that. I've seen you live and die with that jackhammer in your hand. Coosa River, was that last year? I think, or maybe the year before. You had a really good finish at Coosa River, but it seems to be two baits you have a lot of confidence in. And that ties into a question I wanted to ask you. Do you do a lot of experimenting with baits? Or do you go out and say, man, I love throwing a spinnerbait. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna see if I can get them on a spinnerbait. If not, then I'll adjust from there. Is that kind of where you start, or do you look for optimal conditions? Like a lot of people do to throw those types of baits.
I pretty much tie on the same few baits for most of the year. When I go to leave somewhere, I'll have water temperature in mind and what I think the fish are doing. I'll have one color of jackhammer tied on as the first one or two baits I throw all year. No matter from Texas on, as long as the water temp is above 50, I'll have a specific color of jackhammer tied on. And then, I'll adjust from there. And as far as, I keep the jackhammer part really, really simple. I've got 2 or 3 colors and, a trailer for each color. And that part's really simple. It's kind of the mainstay. But a lot of times in practice, I'll throw a spinnerbait and I'll get wonky with the spinnerbait and different colors and different blades and different things like that and different sizes. And I've thrown a spinnerbait enough, both in tournaments and in practice, to know if they're eating in a particular way, then I'll just keep throwing the spinnerbait. But I can cover a little more water with a jackhammer. I can skip it more. In full disclosure, that's what I was doing at the Coosa chain. I was skipping a jackhammer as far as I could underneath wooden docks. And I was hanging them up and breaking them off and all that. And but it was a full-blown commitment to stay mentally in the zone. Now, granted, I stroked like 90 inches by noon that day, and I lost my identifier, and I loaded my stuff up and went to the house and didn't even make another cast after noon. But I probably broke off 4 or 5 jackhammers that day.
Whew.
And, it's one of those things. I mean, there's people that have wire under their kayaks, and I'm not the best at looking at my lines, so you'll throw up there and hook a big fish and set the hook, and the first time it goes around a pole, it'll snap you. And I knew on day 1 that I was on the right bite, so it kind of kept me in the zone. Now day 2 was a different story because I tried to do the same thing, and they wouldn't have it. I ended up having to change boat ramps and catch them on a jackhammer somewhere else, and I was basically having to hop it. And I even slowed down, tried to throw a jig and a fluke in the same creek that I was throwing the jackhammer in. And for whatever reason, the bite turned off in there. And I don't know if it's, I didn't really catch that many fish. I caught like 9 fish on day 1, but they were all quality. But the biggest thing is knowing when you need to cover water versus when you need to stay somewhere and keep grinding on it. It would have been very easy for me to stay that same spot and throw that jackhammer all day, or throw different baits and smaller baits and try to finesse them and everything else. But it turned out the best decision was to move and leave and cut my check and go home. And I think that's something you get from spending enough time in a tournament format, because you're going to hit that a lot differently in a tournament than you would if you were just fun fishing and fishing a lot on the weekend. Because I swear fish know when the weekend is, because they get past that
They
500 times
do.
more. I mean, I'm sure everyone, y'all can attest to that, and everyone else can that's probably watching. Everybody cracks them during the week, and then you get out there on the weekend, especially during a tournament, and it's like those fish know. You know, there's like a time clock in their little pea brains that knows what's going on.
It's the same with deer hunting, man. I swear those deer, they know when hunt season starts. They know when it's the weekend, because that means, you can have these deer all over your trail cameras all week long, and then it comes Saturday and Sunday when everybody's off work and you don't see them.
Yeah.
But
I wonder sometimes, I'm not a big hunter, but at the same time, I know exactly what you're talking about with deer changing patterns and things. You almost wonder, as good as most of those animals' hearing is, the first gunshot they hear in the fall, that has to affect them mentally. And you almost wonder if fishing is the same way, where the first time that they hear a bait in the day, whether it's a rattle trap or something like that, the first time they hear something that's obviously unnatural, you have to wonder what those fish think.
I just wonder, if they just grown so accustomed to all these different sounds. I mean, it's become a part of their life. They're born and they live their life knowing what a Mercury 250 sounds like up in the water. What these different baits sound like coming through the water. I can't figure it out. I don't you would almost think, yeah, like they would hear those sounds and just shut off every single day. But man, I guess that's why the good Lord made them a little bit dumber than us. So
That's fair.
Because we sure enjoy wrecking their heads.
Absolutely. And lip piercing.
Yeah. Real quick, man. What do you use the same setup for your spinnerbait as well as your jackhammer?
Basically, yeah. I've got the exact same reel, the exact same line. I like a little bit shorter rod with a spinnerbait, because most of the time I'm not trying to cast it as far, and I'm not trying to skip it. I'm basically putting it in a specific spot most of the time, around brush and dock pylons and lay downs and things like that. So a little bit shorter rod, I think I'm a little bit more accurate with. Something probably 6'8", 6'9" versus a jackhammer. I like something in the 7'1" range, 7'3" range at times. But for the most part, I like the same action. And that really stemmed from me breaking a tip off a rod and putting a new tip on it. And, as I started doing that, you read more into that stuff, and it's like, most spinnerbait rods are a little shorter, and it just, I don't know if it's the action thing as much as it is being accurate, but it's what I've gotten used to. I like it a little shorter.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I got a question from some guys in the comments. Ashley wants to know, where do you see kayak tournaments in 5 years, 5 to 10 years? How many national trails, camera boats, live broadcast, and how the fish are submitted, et cetera. So I guess in general, where do you see this sport that we love so much in 5 to 10 years?
That's a really good question. I don't ever think about that, to be honest. I would say by 5 to 10 years, some point through there, we're probably going to have more GoPros in kayaks to kind of monitor things. I mean, you see that a lot in the bass boats now. I think there's an opportunity for a more ideal measuring system, where there's not glare on boards and that kind of I mean, nobody's doing anything wrong. I think, the catch board that I have, I mean, it's got my name on it and everything else. I mean, I think it's obviously the best option, which is why everybody's using it. But I think there's still room for improvement with that. I used to work at a cabinet place. I can't even remember what they called it. They would read us a section of this Japanese book every day. That was like the 5 R's or something like that. And one of the things was try every day to make something like a second or a minute shorter that you do every day. And man, I wish I could think of the name of it. I can't believe I'm going.
It's kind of like we talk a lot about that at FedEx, like the 5 Whys. Is that what you said?
It's called Kaizen. It's
Kaizen.
Continual
Okay.
improvement. But I cut you off about the FedEx.
No, I was just saying. Yeah, I work for a corporation, and they talk a lot about that. It's kind of branches under lean management. Always trying to make something. Make your job a little bit more efficient, stuff like that. Do it a better way or something.
And I think that's something that we can keep in mind with how we measure fish, because that's something that we have some sort of issue with still, with glare and boards and things like that. And I think there's probably some sort of way where we can get away from identifiers. I know that's kind of the fail safe, but anymore with the technology on our phones, I mean, you can see where you were when the fish was taken and what time, and whether or not it's a screenshot now and stuff like that. I think there's eventually going to be a system where we don't have to keep up with a piece of paper. I think that's, has been the best option for so long. I think that's what we're used to. So between board and identifier and I still think Tourney X is the best system out there. That's not to knock anybody else, but I think Dwayne does a great job of doing
incredible job.
I've used quite a bit of the other ones, and I'm going to use everything this year because I'm literally fishing everything. KFLs. I'm going to fish a KBF, and I'm sure you guys have heard I'm not the biggest glowing review for KBF out there, but at certain times, you got to check back and check with improvement. And, I wasn't planning on fishing KBF, but when guys are saying, hey, it seems to be getting better. There's guys that are giving it better reviews that fish it and Bassmaster. So, who am I to keep giving people a hard time when I'm not fishing it? So, I'm going into this year with a really open mind to try out all the different apps, and everybody knows that I'm honest as can be, and maybe a little too honest at times. So I think that just pure honesty, no filter, that a lot of people have come to know me as, will appreciate that when I start doing reviews of things, because I have no reason to give a crap what anybody thinks except myself.
No such thing as too honest, Jordan.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's such thing as too honest, but there is such a thing as not enough filter.
Yeah. You can be a little overly honest sometimes. Yeah, you might just want to tell your girl she looks good every time you see her. Man, you're absolutely right, man. I couldn't agree more. It just, as things progress, as more people will get involved, the tournament organizations make more money than the big wig people, they get involved, and everybody comes up with better processes and stuff and figures out ways to improve it. It's only good for the sport. I hope it only stays that way. Sometimes we can change things that or fix things that are not broken. But Tourney, guys like Dwayne and AJ, man, they have done an incredible job, growing the sport to what it is now, providing the platform for for all of us to do what we love, man. Guys like you to rise to the top and showcase your skills and who you are, man. It's awesome, man. It's really cool. I think when I got involved in this sport, back in like 2015, you saw it on the rise then, but man, it just took off, and it's been really awesome to watch it. But
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I remember going and fishing one of the first KBF Opens down at Santee Cooper. That's spring of 2014 was the only time I've been to Santee Cooper, and we had a terrible cold front. And it was miserable, but to go from then and seeing very, 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 very few guys in Hobies to now you go to these national events and there's Hobies everywhere. It shows people's commitment to the sport as well as how far it's come and continuing to grow. So I can't wait to see what happens.
Man, I've been telling David this, but with all the crap that people keep adding to their Hobies gonna need to come out with like a Pro Angler XL or something. It's hard to argue that platform, but I mean, how much more? I mean, guys have motors. There's talk of having 2 motors on the boats. Live scope. We've already seen the kayaks coming out with 2 graphs on it. It's cool. It's just, but at some point we're gonna outgrow these little things.
I like my simple little Outback.
Yeah.
Outback's fantastic, but I can't believe you said you had a Lynx, man. I've been wanting to get a Lynx. I think that's my next boat is I'm going to get a Lynx. I'll throw around.
I had a deal fall through. It's the only reason it's still there. It won't be there for long.
I bet it won't be there by the end of the week.
Probably not. That's a cool little boat, man. I like the way they set it up to where you can put some stuff on it too. You can rig it out if you want to, or just keep it simple.
Pick the dang thing up and just carry it under your arm, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
we see where having an even lighter weight boat is coming to play. Drew Gregory, man, he's been killing with putting these little boats into some backwater spots, man. So I wouldn't doubt it if we didn't start seeing some, a lot of people traveling around with 2 kayaks. I mean, I know some guys have been doing it, but you find a little creek that you can dip into, man. That Pro Angler is hard to maneuver around at times.
Yeah.
We're at 162 on the Hobie.
162. That's incredible. Incredible.
David, you got any more questions for Jordan?
I think we covered a lot of the questions I had for Jordan, other than when I can twist his ear when there ain't 100 people listening. But no, I got to pick Jordan's brain for a long time for one morning, and I got a good feel of who he is and where he sits. And Jordan, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. I enjoy talking to you every time I talk to you. It's amazing. We got to sit at the Hobie thing at Pickwick, and I got to talk to him again, and it's just a pleasure. I mean, it's just a pleasure to talk to Jordan. Always is.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure, man. I'm an open book. I don't care. I've got nothing to hide. That's just like y'all talk about on Pickwick, man. That was a cool place where I was, and I took a picture and busted it up. And if that comes back to bite me in the butt someday, then so be it. But I'm an open book. It's fishing. Everybody has a right to the water that I'm in, just like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. Dude, it's been awesome having you on. Guys, we said we were doing a giveaway, and we're going to be announcing that giveaway tonight. So I'm going to pop this picture up here to let you guys know what we're giving away to all. So let's see. All right, so in just kind of a celebratory fashion, we wanted to get Jordan on last year, but for this special occasion, we're giving away a 75 amp hour Battleborn battery, lithium ion. Guy, it's a Group 24 powerhouse. This thing will keep you out there on the water all day long and then some. It's incredibly light battery that you can power your electronics or power your motors. I know a lot of our anglers that are watching and have been watching are looking for a power source to power up their Newport vessel or their motor guy, whatever it may be. So guys, we're going to be putting up a graphic on the Facebook page after this show, telling you how to enter in this contest. We're going to run it for 3 weeks long. So be sure to tell your friends about it. And it's going to be from our Facebook page only. That's the only way you're going to be able to enter into this giveaway. And 3 weeks from now, we'll run a special show just to announce the winner of this battery, just to show our thanks for all of our viewers that watch. And we definitely want to say thank you to Battleborn for providing us with this giveaway. So if you're in need of any battery supplies, if you're in need of any kind of batteries to power your kayak, go and check out Battleborn batteries, guys. Jordan, man, it's been a pleasure, dude. We're just happy to have you on, man. Happy to pick your brain, talk to you a little bit, talk some fishing. We know we're going to see you out there on the trail. Where can guys follow you? How can guys get in touch with you and follow you along as you compete this year?
You can check me out on Facebook. I've got my regular page, and then I've got a fishing page that's awful, and I'm trying to work on. And I've got 2 Instagrams that I'm also working on. You can just type in my name. They're both my name. I think one of them's Marshall Fishing, and my actual regular one's JD Marshall Fishing. I'm just all over the place, trying to work on stuff and trying to get better about posting. For a long time, I didn't think anybody cared what I had to say, but apparently as time goes on, I do more of these podcasts, more people are asking the question you just asked. So that's something I got to do better of committing to for everybody. And y'all hit me up. The more people hit me up, the more I realize that I need to do it. So y'all can get on my butt and keep me going.
Hey, you said you had a YouTube page coming. What's that page going to be?
It's going to be Marshall Fishing. I've got a dope logo. I've got a kayak cushion being made with that logo. It's pretty cool. I'm excited. I mean, I'm going to look like I know what I'm doing. Other than the editing part, that's my goal with YouTube, is to make it big enough where I can lose money to pay someone to edit, but I feel like I'm important then, because I took a media concepts class in high school and I can't edit video terrible. They had to kick me out of the class, and I went and TA'd and I changed the teacher's oil for a while because I'm not very good on a computer. I'm 26-year-old that's terrible with social media. Y'all believe that?
Hey, at least you can change that oil, man. You're leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of guys out there right now.
Man, that was one of the best teachers I ever had. I don't want to get off on a sidetrack here at the end, but that would he paid me $20 an hour after school to help me build his house that he was building, and change his oil in his car, and tossed me a 5-gallon bucket one day that had a buffer and a bunch of stuff, what is it, wax or whatever to put on there. Man, go out and buff my car. I said, what? That's being prepared for anything and doing stuff like that. I learned a lot of stuff from that crazy old man.
There you
That's
go.
awesome. That's awesome, man. We'll have to get you back on just to hear that story, bro.
I see that old man every now and then. He's one of my favorite people on earth. He's actually on a county commission where I live. I was sitting out here helping my parents build their house, and he was driving by, going door to door, and I was like, I couldn't figure out who it was at first. I was like, man, I said, get out of here. What are you doing? He's like, is that you, Marshall? I was like, oh my gracious. That man threw hammers at people and cussed people out during school hours. He was my favorite teacher I ever had. No joke.
Love it, man. Well, bro, anything else you want to add, man, before we let you go? Any sponsors you want to thank? Shots you want to give?
Yeah, Hobie Fishing, man. We're about to hit the ground running with them. The AJ and them put on a fantastic series. I know we just talked about it. they do a fantastic job. Anybody that's looking into getting into big tournaments, look at that and consider doing that. It's going to be a very well run tournament. They're going to be able to answer any questions you got. McKee Outdoors, they had a fantastic fishing show this weekend. Matt McKee's a fantastic dude that runs one of the best tackle shops that I've been in, especially that's locally owned. River Sports hung out a lot at their booth this weekend, and there's a bunch of great kayak shops all across the country, and y'all need to check them out. And I've M-Tech lithium batteries, they're powering me this year. That's not something I'm used to saying, that anybody's powering me. So shout out to M-Tech. I won't harp on them too long. I know y'all are sponsored for Battleborn for the show, so I won't
all
harp,
good, man.
But yeah, I got some
everybody.
other. What'd you say?
It's all about pushing everybody.
I got you. That's
we
all grow together. The more people get in, everybody's got great options now. And I've got a couple more that I'm not going to say yet because I'm working on them, and I don't want to jinx it. So if I say anything, I don't want to jinx it. But I'm excited, man. I've never been as excited about getting on the road and hitting tournaments up this year, and like I said, when we started out, I've never been more of a cluster a week before I'm supposed to drive to Texas of all places.
Oh, I know, man.
You're ahead of me. You're ahead of me. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, Bass on Fork's going to be my warm up. There's going to be 150 people there, and I'm going to be out there warming up, testing out my motor for the first time.
At least you got that done already. I ain't even there yet.
Well, man, you have to hit us up, man. Come stop by the house. David's gonna be cooking up a storm. That's probably the only thing he has thought about is what we're gonna be eating down there in Fork. So
now that's easy. All I gotta do is hit a grocery store when I get down there. We'll figure it out within about 20 minutes.
we will be prepared, man. I travel with some fantastic cooks. Eric Thomason's a fantastic cook, man. There was a group of us that used to go to Venice, Louisiana, and redfish for a week, and man, we ate like kings. I mean, those guys were fantastic cooks, and I'm sure we'll have some fillets at some point, and we always have a night where we cook. And I'd say being gone for a week and a half, we'll probably cook more than once, and we'll eat well if nothing else. I'm sure not relying on the fork to give me any fish that I can bring back to the house and cook.
I don't know, man. You're that kind of guy. I saw you show up at Seminole at like 1 o'clock in the morning, go out there and. Probably still a little hungover from the night before. Went out there and put up an awesome limit. I think you ended up almost winning.
That was an admission of guilt if I ever saw one.
We Seminoles, man. We could sit here for a whole nother podcast and talk about Seminole.
Oh yeah.
From places we stayed to things we do at Seminole. There's nothing to do at Seminole, and I've stayed in a place that 4 of us stayed in a place the size of my barn right here, man. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a shed, man. It wasn't much bigger than a shed. It was bootleg, and it was an upgrade last year when we went down there. I told Thomason to book a place early, and we found a place that looked really nice, and we got there, and the sign said, "Welcome to the Swamp Gravy Shack." And if you ever pull up somewhere that says "Welcome to the Swamp Gravy Shack," you need to turn it around.
Get on out of there.
Around. We had everybody knows kayak catfish, especially people that YouTube a lot. Kayak catfish could not stay in the Swamp Gravy Shack. He actually left a day early after a bad day. He didn't want to stay in the Swamp Gravy Shack. If I recall, he left that night and drove to a hotel.
That's hilarious.
Some of them Airbnb, man, VRBOs, they put up like one picture with the best angle. It looks great. And you get down there and it's nothing like what it looked like. We've been pretty fortunate so far. We've been
very fortunate with what we've booked over the last couple of years. So
yeah,
I have no complaints.
No,
we've got 2 dope
ourselves with that statement though.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said we probably just jinxed ourselves with that statement, though.
Yeah. we've got two very dope houses for Fork and Toledo Bend that 4 or 5 of us are staying in. So I'm excited about that. I'm no longer allowed to choose where we stay because the last time I chose where we stay, there were 3 of us that ended up in a basement of a house that was being lived in. We just basement.
That's bad.
Oh, it was a time, man. You'd be hanging out and there'd be people walking around upstairs. There were wires. I mean, the top of the basement didn't look much better than this, except there were open ductwork and open wires and open water lines and everything else. There was no ceiling in the basement.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I guess that's good for you, man. You ain't got to worry about booking anything. You can just worry about tying up your spinnerbaits and chatterbaits.
Yeah, I'll be tying some up tonight. I put in an order for probably $400 worth of spinnerbait blades that I'm hoping come before I leave for Texas. Getting a little thin, what I call thin anyway. I got to get some stuff squared away, and I just show up and fish and pay Thomason and Pro Neighbor the money for booking correct places. That's out of my hands, and I trust them because I don't trust myself to book places anymore.
Yeah, you just got to buy the beers afterwards whenever you whip them all.
That's fair. I can do that. That's the least I can do. I was so excited when we showed up at TOC, man. There were people buying me shots as soon as I walked in the door, and I was eating it up, man. I was pumped, and I thought I'd won that thing all the way up until they said my name for second place, and that was one of the most confusing. You know, it's hard to get up there and talk to AJ after a tournament sometimes. You know, it's standing up there, you got camera and stuff in your face, and
you're exhausted.
Yeah, you're exhausted. I mean, we fished for 3 days, and I practiced for a couple days before that. And, you know, I had a 4-mile pedal in at the end of the day after catching that donkey in the last minute. And then the whole way, you know, I thought AOY was mine. The tournament was mine. I called into work on my way back to the ramp the next day. I said, hey, I know I'm supposed to be there tomorrow, but, yeah, that ain't happening. Sorry. And you know, that was our rule. Was the only way I was going to call in was if I won. And you know, that was probably one of the more awkward experiences I've ever had talking to AJ. You know, was getting handed second place and realizing that, you know, like 25 grand just disappeared in a half a second.
Gosh. Yeah. Well, man, second place is still hard to argue. Jordan, man, it's been a pleasure, dude. We're going to go ahead and let you get off here, man. We've been running for about an hour and a half, man. It's been awesome talking to you. We look forward to seeing you out on the trail, brother. And, you know, I'm sure we'll cross each other's paths plenty more. And we'll definitely have to have you back on, man.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you, Jordan.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate you.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later. All right, guys. Man, awesome show, dude. What do you think, man?
Did good. I always love talking to Jordan.
He's a character.
He's like the East Tennessee version of my Arkansas redneck, but so
yeah,
he cracks me up. But I liked him for the first time I ever met him. So yeah. I think he's one of those genuine characters in kayak fishing that's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, he is. He's a good dude, man. I like talking to him. All right, guys, I'm going to throw up this graphic one more time just to remind you all. We'll be doing this giveaway. I will put up this graphic and give you all the instructions on how you can enter into win this 75 amp hour Group 24 battery from Battleborn Batteries. And make sure you pay attention to the details because the details will matter on how you can enter in. And if you are the winner, you know, you got to make sure that you follow each little step that we're going to ask you to do. It's not too much. It's going to be easy, guys. But just to give back to you all and say thanks for all of your participation. And man, we couldn't be doing this without you guys. It's why we do it. So, guys, we are Lines In, powered by Battleborn Batteries and presented by Primary Tackle. You all have a good night, and we will see you on the next show. Later.
Thanks, guys.